Matt, how you doing?
Doing well, Richard. How are you?
Super good. Look, I'm really grateful and humbled to that you've taken time out, um, taking time to spend with me on a Friday night. I know you've got a
Of
young
course.
family, one daughter, right?
Yes, that's right. 7 months.
7 months. Loving it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It's a role that I never anticipated that I would love so much.
Oh my God, that's awesome. And
Yeah.
um, for those of you that don't know, Matthew Wright, he's the VP of Fitness, Personal Training and Programming for City Fitness based out of Philly. He has been in the industry for a while. He looks so young, but he's 35. But he really has worn many hats. He's an educator at heart and a real industry leader. He led a really impactful webinar for IRSA yesterday. There's a ton of people dialed into that. He is leading the way. He actually holds a job that's exactly the same as mine, but for another company. And we've met in and out of conferences for quite a few years now. And I think we just have a big respect for each other. So I love that we can catch up and share what's going on in this crazy industry, huh?
No, it's the truth. I mean, we always seem to get pulled back together somehow, and I think we both get to elevate each other's game, bounce ideas off one another, and usually spend some of those times we do get together with a nice drink in hand.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. That's always good. So,
Yeah.
so tell me about your path. You were just touching on, you're an educator at heart, and
Yeah.
and you started a PhD, and you got led off track, and you've got a master's, and all sorts of background that sort of was mind blowing. Talk me through that.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a series of learning opportunities, in all honesty. uh, you know, Going back and getting into personal training or in the fitness industry, I wasn't sure when I was in my undergraduate studies what I wanted to do. And I shared this joke through my conferences and talks, but, it was the end of my freshman year, and I had gone to my advisor at the time, and she was like, Matt, so what's it going to be? What do you want? And I'm like, honestly, like, I just don't know. And she's like, well, what do you like? And I was like, honestly, sports and women. And she goes, well, you don't seem like a women's studies major, so why don't you go kinesiology? And I was like, all right, let's do this. So, getting into fitness then, and the kinesiology program really sparked my passion for it. My junior year, which is something I ended up studying further in my master's, but I really got into sport and exercise psychology. If you hear me speak to my teams or whatever else, but I think a lot of what we do is centered around our behaviors. And it's not just about, go to the gym, eat right. I think there's so many other underlying components that we have to try to get across to people. So I really found that that was something that I could sink my teeth in. And it really sort of drove me to want to go that route. So, I finished my undergraduate at Penn State, got a job as a personal trainer, decided to go back part time to get a master's. I worked full time, did a master's in 3 years, finished that, became an adjunct professor. I taught at two universities, kinesiology, anatomy, physiology, exercise technique. Took a year off after that, started the PhD program, realized that I didn't want to do research 8 to 10 hours a day. Left that, spent 3 months in my dad's basement mastering the art of the margarita.
Nice.
The job I was with before my master's called me, got me to move to New England. And then, yeah, I mean, I went from New England back to New Jersey, a stint on the vendor side with Active Solutions, and now I'm the VP of Fitness and Programming at City Fitness here in Philly. So
That's a big
if
journey, man.
anybody can repeat that back, um, but what you didn't hear in all of that was the amount of times that I second guessed everything that I was doing, wondering if personal training was the best career for me, if what I was doing was enough, or if the impact that I was making was enough. But what centers around that, and you'd mentioned this, and it's something that I identify with, but everything in there is about being an educator, or um, not just being an educator, but being a student, right? So we always have these chances or opportunities to learn in everything that we do in our day to day, in our studies, in our research. So that's where I'd be able to kind of fill that role of, not only am I the first person that sits in the front row, but I'm also the person at the podium that
Yep.
likes to lead the class.
I like that. You just said something that I think is is interesting and very relevant. And you said you were questioning yourself as you went through this when you're a PT, a coach. Is this the career for me? Can I do this? Is this sustainable? And I think that's something that most, if not all, PTs go through, because the people are like, is this a career? Can I make a career out of it? Can I make it full time? What happens when I get older and I can't get up early in the morning, or I hurt myself, or
Hmm.
what's going on? And as you're seeing now is, where 99% of the world's coaches and personal trainers are out, they're not able to work with inside their clubs or facilities, having to be creative and do it elsewhere. It's relevant and meaningful. So there's only a few people that really can make it. So
Hmm.
just talk to me your thoughts through that, or any advice you'd give to people.
So this is so I'm on the idea personal trainer committee, and one of the topics every year that we seem to circle back to is how do we help personal trainers or even fitness instructors, whatever it may be in their role, understand that they can develop a career out of this. And I think that we almost have to like peel it back to figure out like what it means to everybody and like what's that roadblock for people, because I think every PT or instructor has that different roadblock. Because let's be honest, I think a lot of personal trainers, they want to train, they don't want to go into PT management, they don't want to go into operations. I mean, I can remember in one of my first organizations, it was like, well, you become a PT, then you become a PT manager, then you kick to the sales team. And it's like, that makes zero sense whatsoever. I'm a personal trainer. Why would I go sell
Yeah.
membership? So,
Yeah.
anyways, I think a couple of things that you had said, which is for me, it was the grind, which it was, I was getting up at 5 a.m. The one gym I worked at was over in PA. So I had to drive 20 miles from Jersey over there. I worked from, if it was 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. till 11, I shot home, took a nap, had lunch, then went to the other club from maybe 3 to 8 or 3 to 9. And it was like, how can I sustain this? I wasn't able to maybe spend the time that I wanted to with my friends at the time or my family. And then what I realized was I had to identify when I was at my best and also what brought me joy the most. And I had to really figure out what it was. So I started to figure out a little bit more niche of where my focus was. And at that time, I really liked the pre-post rehab, as compared to just training the athletes that I would in the afternoon. So I ended up just like making the transition and finding an organization that I felt aligned better with what I wanted to do. It wasn't just about doing the job, but it was doing something that I was passionate about and something that every day I was excited for, rather than feeling like, oh my gosh, it's going to be another one of those really long, drawn out days. And how am I supposed to be able to sustain this? The next piece is the financial component of it, right? So as PTs, so often our paycheck is influenced by, you're in Chicago right now, weather, right? So if you end up getting hit with a snowstorm and you're not having those sessions, it's like, whoa, I ended up just losing 20 training sessions. I'm getting paid $40 a session. There's $800 of my paycheck out the door. That's tough. And I got always nervous about that. I spoke of all of my education. I mean, I still sit here today with $100,000 in student loan debt,
Yeah.
and I'm grateful for my education, and I wouldn't change it. But that was something that always weighed on me in all of my decisions, which was, can I financially maintain this position over a long haul? And I know for me, where I spend a lot of my time with my PTs is educating them on being financially responsible. Um, and it kind of just goes back, but doing what you do and loving it, because we get one job. We spend more time at our job or within our career than we do anywhere else.
It can be such a fulfilling job, and such a
Oh yeah.
fulfilling job. And I touched on this the other day with someone, but when you ask coaches or personal trainers or instructors why they do what they do, and they say it's to help people, is because that's what I love to do. And that's awesome. I mean, who does that? I mean, working in the finance industry, or
Yeah.
other industries, it's like, who says that? So it's pretty cool. But what they forget, just caught up in the passion of it, is the business of the business. And
Yeah.
the more that I think the industry is missing this, is the business application of training and educating and coaching personal trainers how to build a business, how to market
Yep.
and promote themselves, how to how to client relations, and creating, behavioral change,
Yep.
programs, etc. That's what creates a lasting career in coaching, and
Hmm.
something I was actually speaking to someone yesterday about as well is there's just not enough coaches now who are over, say, 45 or 50. And,
No, no, and we need it, and our members need it.
yes, you know, and I don't see why not. You know, I think we've got to change the stigma of coaches just being, you know, younger, but you know, there's more life lessons that people take with you. You know, this isn't just about exercise. This is about coaching.
Yeah.
So I think you've touched on something that's really important. You know.
Yeah. And I think even in saying that, like, I would always say is like, when I first started, it's like, well, how's this 75-year-old person going to relate to me as a 25-year-old? And you have to know how to connect and relate to that person. Like, yes, that person might want somebody who's, more senior in age or life experienced, I'll call it. But like, like I have grandparents or an aunt or uncle, or maybe it's the same restaurants that we like, or movies that you've
Yeah.
seen, or places that you visit. Like, it might sound like novice to some to say that, but like that's a great way to be able to connect with someone or to ask those questions, right? Like, the one thing that I always push out to PTs is like, when you first meet somebody, if you're in an assessment, or even if you want to get to know someone, it's never the first question that you ask that you really want the answer to. It's really the second and third questions you're asking that you're really trying to figure out what you want to hear, or what you're trying to get out of that person to verbalize.
Yeah. Love it. I love it. I think it's so true. So Matt, so you're an educator at heart. You love educating, you know, and you speak at a lot of the conferences around the USA, and you're on a podcast in Australia last week or the week before. I saw with Chantel,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah. And I even got to speak at Philex 2 years ago.
that is awesome, pal. So I love what you're
Yeah.
doing. So I'm saying you packed a lot in at a young age. So
I,
um,
I don't know how I did it.
grit and
Yeah.
grind. So
I'm 35 and graying.
oh, the graying happens, buddy. Don't worry, you can die there. So Matt, what keeps you going? You know, what is your driver with that fire inside? What is that?
It's and it's not this is a genuine from the heart, as much as I can possibly say, but I love watching other people be successful.
Yeah,
My number one goal, and I believe it's a God-given mission, which is, how can I end up helping so many other people live out their dreams, no matter what they are, or to live their best life. I started a consulting company and education company a few years back, and it's not something I do much anymore because I have to put my time fully into my position at City Fitness, and of course with my family. But the tagline was, to educate and give inspiration through perspiration, not just sweat at the gym, but sweat at life.
yeah,
And I had started this after attending an idea conference, and it was because I found that so many of the trainers that were in the room with me, or the instructors, they just really needed a coach. They needed someone to listen to. They needed someone to put them down a pathway. And it wasn't just about the fitness industry, because we spend so much of our time in it, but also out of it. So it's being able to figure out. And every time I speak, I always end up saying, like, being able to help you both professionally and personally,
yeah,
because we have to be able to marry those two selves together. So yeah, it's really, my mission is to just see people out. It's why I love, the random Instagram message or LinkedIn message when it happened maybe a few, weeks ago, where someone said, hey, you might not remember me. And of course I did remember him, but I just got promoted to the highest level trainer here at Equinox. The way that you were able to teach us through our, onboarding and university program really propelled
yeah,
my career. And it's like, that fills my heart. Like, you could be like, Matt, here's a $10,000 check. Honestly, keep it. I don't even need to put it towards the student loans. I'd rather receive that message from somebody, because that just inspires me and pushes me to be even better. And it even feeds back to what I was sharing on the URSA webinar yesterday, just about leadership, which is, it's a commitment on your part, and where you value how you see yourself as a leader and what you want to be as a leader. You can't expect to be a great leader if you're not investing in it and wanting to grow. And by me continuing to invest in myself as a professional, as a person, as a leader, in all these hats that I wear, that ultimately is helping me on my mission, which is getting you to be the best that you can be, or taking you to a new height in your career.
Oh my God. So there's some gold there. So you're talking about investing in yourself and, wanting to help as many people as possible. And what I'm noticing on these calls of, I've done a few of these calls now with fitness leaders out there, and it doesn't matter what country they're in or what position in leadership, they've all said the same thing, is how many people they want to help and investing in others. And it's this real feeling of for the greater good and growing. And you sort of think, oh, well, that's, you know, is that unique to our industry? I don't know, but I know it's there a lot, and I don't think it's
Yeah.
recognized enough, because if there's a lot of owners listening out there, and actually I've had a couple of texts from some club owners who've said they're enjoying these, that they said, that's gold to know we have people in our teams that feel that way.
Hmm.
If I owned a business and I knew that I had someone like you in my team, I'd be like, I'm super happy and grateful. That's what we
Yeah.
need to create. And we have that with our fitness
Oh
coaches,
my gosh.
instructors. They come in with energy and they love inspiring and helping people. And some of them are
Hmm.
putting on a show and practicing their skills and helping people be a better version of themselves. It's pretty cool, huh?
It's amazing because to me, like, we're life changers, right? Like, we are potentially saving people's lives or helping them live out their best life when you have one shot at it, right? So you think of that person who comes in, and it's and I keep going back to personal training, but like in an assessment, I really get across to our coaches and our teams, like, if someone doesn't buy with you, you it's not a loss. They're always going to go down two pathways. They're either going to become a client and be a part of that 20 to 25%, depending upon your club, or they're going to be that 75 to 80% who becomes a raving fan, because you're going to end up still being able to educate them and inspire them. And how many nuggets can you provide to them that might sit with that person, so that they might have that mat on their shoulder when it's a Friday night and they want to eat something maybe that they shouldn't, or whatever else it is. So it's yeah, I think that's why so many of us like to do it, is we can just instill this, I don't call them best practices, but better practices for people. And one thing I want to circle back, because it's a quote that I've really lived by, and you probably know it, but it's a Zig Ziglar quote. But it's, you can have everything you want in life if you just help enough other people get what they want.
Yeah.
And I think for probably like a year and a half, it was my last slide at every presentation that I did. I finally have updated everything, but it
It's a
was,
great
my goal
it's
was
very
to,
true.
yeah, and to get people to go out and do that. And like, how do you stay at this level, that's what you're consistently doing in your day to day, especially when you're having your own highs and lows.
I like that so much. So Matt, obviously we're in unique, interesting times at the moment.
Oh, really?
It's all a bit strange for us, and we're all doing all we can, but as we come out the end of this, as we're heading towards the end now, what do you think, health, fitness, well-being, coming out of this, what do you think is next? Not really saying for the industry, but just in
Yeah.
general, you know?
There's going to be an awkward period. There's no doubt about that. This whole this whole entire situation has been weird. It's unprecedented. It's been challenging in so many different ways. It's rocked our industry, so many industries, so many people's homes, you name it. What I guess personally would like to see out of this is, I hope it really puts health and fitness at one of the shiniest and brightest lights that we possibly can for
Yeah.
people, because it's such an outlet, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and I think being able to, I don't want to go the media route, because I refuse to do that, but like, get people to understand that, like, if you do 10 minutes of something, that's okay. It's not that it has to be the 60-minute vigorous workout, like just do something for yourself. And then how do we get in front of more people to help them find that one or two things that is going to be something that really they enjoy, right? I think that's what ends up ultimately leading to behavior changes. You need that feedback loop. So it's like, I exercised and I feel better.
Yes.
I always say the only workout you hate is the one you didn't do. So when we can get them in that mentality, like, what, I'm glad I did 10 minutes. I'm glad I did 20 minutes. The other area where I think is going to end up booming is we need more health coaching. It goes back to, my really push for behavior change is getting people to realize their triggers, their habits, being able to build these daily disciplines. I think that's what it is. And like, you can either try to cruise the narrow path, which is hard for you, which is where you want to go, or that wide path, which is really easy to do. So it's figuring that out. But I really do. I think that we can try to really shine a new light, push out all the Globo gym references that people think of when they think gyms,
Yeah.
and really focus on that we are life changers, and that we're doing it from a place of compassion and empathy.
Yeah, I agree. Exercise and health and wellness and well-being and its effect on mental health is going to be more evident than ever before. This isn't going away. It's a fact, and so I
Yep.
think, that's one of my personal goals, is to get more people more active more often, not wanting to steal
Yep.
the one from UK Active, but it's something I believed in for a very long time, and getting more coaches and more leaders out there in the clubs that I look after out there, just that they can spread it to the ripple effect to more people and create a greater good and focus and health and well-being. And it's a flow on effect. So Matt,
Yep.
I appreciate your time. It's Friday night.
Of course.
I know you've got a margarita waiting, and your
You know me
wife,
well.
baby. But mate, as always, I appreciate you and love what you're doing. And
Uh,
I
it's
look
an
forward.
honor to be able to just have this conversation with you and share it with other people. So, I mean, you're in that top 1%, my friend. So it really is an honor coming from you.
Just keep in touch, buddy. And thank you for everything you
Yeah,
do. Thanks, pal.
of course. Thanks.